You are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxshall, in which I chronicle my life and attempts to become a professional writer by, doing some writing daily, hopefully. Hello, it's Monday the 29th of July 2024. Welcome to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. And I've actually had quite a productive day today because although this is coming out before 10 o'clock in the morning in the UK, where I am in Singapore, it's actually about 4:30. And because of the way the flight works to come here, it's actually quite easy to adjust into Singapore time. So we basically, the flight takes off in the evening after 9 o'clock. And it lasts nearly 13 hours. So we landed at about 10 o'clock, 10:30 UK time. But of course, add the 7 hours onto that, which is the time difference between home and Singapore. That takes you to 5:30. And then once you've, done your post-flight stuff that you have to do, got through customs and immigration, and then to the hotel, it was 7 o'clock in the evening. So I managed, there's a little supermarket near where our hotel is, so I managed to get some food to stick in the fridge for breakfast and bits and pieces, and had like a salad because I really need to lose weight. I managed to sleep, and then I woke up this morning about 9 o'clock. I was actually feeling a bit tired, and it would have been very easy to lie in and lose half the day, but I made myself get up, and I walked quite a lot. Basically, there is a... Starters, I've got this lovely, I'll start the story with, I've got a lovely Bluetooth speaker, and I forgot the charging cable for it, and it's quite nice to listen to music and have stuff on in the background of the room. I don't sleep very well in silence. So I decided that I was going to try and get a new charging cable for it. And I knew there was a shop in one of the malls called, I can't remember what it's called now, but anyway, I knew exactly where the shop was, how to get there, and I thought, well, I'll wander in that direction. So I did, basically. Now, it would have been very easy because we're less than half a mile from a tube station where it's an underground. It's not called the Tube here, it's called the MRT. But anyway, half a mile from it. So I walked to the place and then thought, no, I'm not going to catch the tube into the mall. I know I'm going to walk it. So it was a couple of miles and it was quite hot. So I walked in, and when I got there, the first thing I did, if I'm honest, was sat down and had something to drink. And whilst I was doing that, I had an iced coffee. I actually got out my iPad, which I brought with me, and it's one of the newer ones that's got a decent keyboard attached. We have to buy it separately, but you know what I mean. And I wrote a little bit more of the next scene of chapter 33 of Empress of the Trees, which I was very pleased that I got round to doing. And then I was hungry, so I actually, the shop I was going to go to, I still went to the shop to buy where this cable would be, but actually on the way there was a little electronic goods store, and I managed to pick up the cable I needed for about $5, which is just over £2.50. So that was good. I wandered into the mall that I had originally planned to, and then wandered back to a mall in the middle where there's a shop called the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. Actually, there's loads of them dotted around Singapore, and I think they're outside Singapore as well, but this is the only place that I've been to one. And had some lunch. I'm, again, trying to behave, so I had a Caesar salad and an iced coffee again, and sat down and wrote a little bit of the next scene. And it's quite interesting because obviously I have a detailed scene breakdown of chapter 33, and it hasn't quite gone the way I planned it. But the important thing is the key beats, the things that need to happen in the chapter are happening. They're not happening exactly as I envisaged them, but that doesn't matter because as long as I get to the point I need to get to at the end of the chapter, it doesn't matter the exact route. So there's been a couple of little things that have changed, but that's absolutely fine. The material I've written today has mainly been about, Ronnie has seen Danny being bundled past in a van as a prisoner, so she now knows for certain where Danny is, there's not much they can do about that, but they also think there's a possibility they've been seen. I'm not going to talk about it too much because you'd have to know the full plot of the chapter I'm writing. But basically, the good guys have wandered into the forest to try and find out what's happened to the they're not really army, but they're like an employed. They're like an employed army. I don't know what the word for that is. There probably is a word for it. But most of them are dead. They've come across one guy who's just about, well, he dies not long after they found him, and he says, well, basically, we've either been killed or captured, which sets up what has to happen next. So yeah, all in all, I'm quite pleased with it. So yeah, and that worked today. Doing the walk, doing a bit of typing. I didn't live stream it because I didn't. Well, firstly, I didn't actually take my laptop. I just took my iPad, and secondly, because I don't really. I don't want to live stream in the middle of a mall, and I like sitting in coffee shops and restaurants and doing the work when I'm out here. But I'm very pleased because there's been a writing duck. I've had a writing duck. If you listen to this, you'll know that I haven't really done much. I've burbled on about other things. But yeah, so I've written now about 5,000 words of chapter 33. It's going to be a long one because there's quite a lot to happen still. But anything, 8,000 words is probably where it's going to be. So I'm over halfway through, actually. Either that or I have to break it up into smaller chunks. But at the moment, it's on course for being about the higher end of the length that I prefer, but certainly within the lengths that I prefer. So yeah, quite a productive day in Singapore. Tomorrow, I will endeavour to record the podcast outside as I'm walking around, just so you get a bit of the ambience and sound of Singapore. If it works, as I say, I tried this in where was it? I tried it in New York, Times Square, and it didn't come out particularly brilliantly. But I have a couple of theories as to why that was. So yeah. Anyway. And also hope the new format, slightly new format of the podcast is working. The no background music thing, as I say, it's taken me a couple of days to get back into the habit of doing this and doing it easily. So now I can record on whatever device I want to. I can record on the phone, I can record on my laptop. I've worked out how to do all of that. But I also have to edit the thing now. So whereas before I just had to upload the main body of the podcast to the Spotify app, it would then add the opening and I had to add the opening and closing music, which were already saved on there, and add the background music. And it literally took about 40 seconds to do all that. Now it takes a little bit longer because I have to manually edit the opening and closing music. On the plus side of that is it gets to, so the music's fading away and I can start talking whilst the music's fading away, whereas what the Spotify app used to do was play that bit, then it would play the next file, then it would play the next file. It didn't sort of integrate or smooth them out, whereas now, so when I stop speaking, which will be very shortly because I'm already at 7.5 minutes, the music will start playing just before I finish speaking, and so on. And actually, that's a cue to do that. But yeah, so done a bit of writing. Plan to do a little bit more, maybe later today, certainly tomorrow morning, and I'll try and do a podcast from outdoors at some point. All right, thank you for listening. Take care. Bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxall. Thank you for tuning in to my random ramblings, and if you'd like to know more about me or my projects, visit my link tree at linktr.ee/Richard Writes, capital R, capital W. Thank you for listening.